All right, we're live. Welcome, guys, to the Making Comics. I can't even remember what this is. It's not a podcast. It's not a challenge. This is just me and Marsh hanging out, making comics every week. And the Making Comics check-in. There it is. I remembered. I completely forgot. It's definitely been one of those days. For those of you who are new to my channel or have just randomly found this on the YouTube front page or whatever, my name's Chris McQuinlan. I'm an illustrator from Melbourne, Australia. I am joined by the amazing hat-wearing Marshall Lee from, I don't even know which state he's in, America. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right, man, from Connecticut in America. Or East Coast, you could say, too.
Represent. What's the gang that is like? I don't know. Another.
My hip hop crew does this because it supposedly looks like a locust, or Shadow of the Locust. So
yeah, nice. So it has been a week. We're actually broadcasting a day earlier than we normally do, which technically we're actually broadcasting the day we're normally meant to. Every other day we've been late, so we're actually back on schedule now, which is awesome. It's thrown me through, and I was worried that I actually haven't done enough this week to make what I was meant to do, but we'll get to that in a very second. Before we actually talk about what we've done this week, Marsh, do you want to tell us where people can find you online?
Sure. DonkeyJawProjects.com is the site proper where you can find all my links, and you can find my link to YouTube on there. That's a big place I do stuff at, and also Instagram is where I'd really want to point people, because that's where I've been posting a lot of stuff I might not even post on other social medias, but it goes on Instagram first. So Marshall Lee _DJP is where you can find me there.
Nice. And you guys can find me. You're already on my YouTube channel, so you can hit subscribe down below. Otherwise, all my links are down below for my Instagram, my Facebook, all that good stuff. And I've recently, so for those of you who have been following along, I've recently just started a new Instagram page for Monkey Junk. So 100% dedicated to Monkey Junk, the comic. So any news-related stuff or images, etc., is going to be posted there from now on, just to kind of keep all my other feeds clean. So that's that. That's out of the way. I'm going to throw this down to you, man, and get you to kick things off with how you went for the week.
All right, sounds good. So this week, let's see. So basically, I went in with this week just saying I'm going to have the basic goals that I did in the week before, and basically what I did was, I worked on comics. I actually got some extra time in that I don't always get at times on the comic. Again, I've been focusing on mostly like concept design stuff, and I've been really excited because it's like I spend a lot of time trying to do concept design, and I get stuck a lot, and I feel like I have a hard time making decisions, and I think I talked about that on the last episode. But I finally, like, I don't know, sometimes you just go about things and try to make things work and don't take the time to, like, find help for it. So I did look up some tutorials on concept design, and there's this one dude, you guys might know of him. His name is Keenan Lafferty. And his show, like,
Jeff at all?
What's that?
Anyone?
No affiliation to Jeff. I'm finding out that Lafferty must be a pretty common name, or maybe it's common among artists or something, because there's somebody else who does the hundreds this girl whose last name is Lafferty, and I've come across it a lot. But
I always originally just thought they were related to Jeff, but apparently not. So there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy's really cool though. Like, I really like his teaching style, and he kind of cuts through like some of the typical stuff that you would hear people say about art and stuff, and just says, well, like, one thing I like that he says is, a lot of teachers, when they start teaching you, they'll tell you, you know, work on your fundamentals, and you shouldn't be drawing this manga stuff or whatever it is that you draw. That's kind of the silly thing or whatever that people draw when they first start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's like, no, actually, I think that you should literally draw whatever you want, because there's so much to learn in art that if you don't have the proper motivation to learn the fundamental that you need to learn, then you're not gonna do it. So, you know, it's like you should learn how to draw what you want to draw. And when you come into the point where it's like, crap, I need to know perspective if I want to make this look the way I want, then you'll start to have the proper motivation to learn perspective. If you're coming up on problems and you're like, you know what, if I had better anatomy, I this would look a lot better, like my friends stuff that I like, you know, or whatever. Well,
Yeah,
then you'll have the proper motivation to do that.
that's
That's
what,
something I've actually thought for a long time the same way, but it's refreshing to hear a teacher say that, you know. What were you
yeah,
gonna say?
interesting. I never really thought of it like that. Like usually I'll just pick up a book and just read it because I feel like I need to read it. But yeah,
Hmm.
I never really retain all of it, which is probably
Well,
due to the fact that like I'm probably not that interested in whatever that topic is at the time.
yeah. Well, he also emphasizes the point that, you know, when you find out all the things you need to learn, then it becomes very overwhelming. So it's like, oh man, I need to get better at anatomy. I need to get better at proportion, at perspective, at, you know, drawing this, drawing that, drawing more realistic, all these different things. Um, and so you might get a bunch of books on all that stuff. And it's like, now you're too overwhelmed with all the things you need to learn, and you feel like you'll never be a good artist. And, you know, so if you focus on one thing at a time, you know, you might make better progress. So, and I found that to be similar for me, and I think I've grown a lot as an artist, kind of approaching things that way.
Nice. I feel like the
Um,
only flaw that I can see in that mindset is if it's just you drawing and you're not sharing your work, I imagine you'd be
mhm,
less likely to find the flaws in them to
yeah,
actually, okay, I need to focus on this more. Whereas if you're proactively showing people and getting good feedback, um, where people are actually being critical, and you start to notice trends in, like you said, perspective, for example, at least then that sort of triggers it. And you, okay, now I'm ready to learn perspective. Whereas otherwise, you might not see the advantage in it.
hmm,
I just think everything's hunky dory.
yeah,
But otherwise, I
I,
mean, I like that. That's cool philosophy.
yeah, and I totally agree. I think that's an element that needs to be in there, and to be honest, it's an element that I wish was in there for me more. I try to do that, you know, online, but you know, I think you have to find like a specific group who's like willing, or that's kind of part of their purpose to do that kind of thing, because people online tend to be like, oh yeah, that looks cool, like they don't want to tell you the truth unless you specifically ask, which is, you know, it's polite, you know. And then if you specifically ask, though, sometimes you don't even get it. So it's kind of
Yeah,
tough finding those people who will do that. And obviously a classroom setting, there'll be critiques, and that's actually set up to do that kind of thing. So I definitely think that's helpful, you know, as well, like you said.
nice.
Um, so yeah, this guy, Keenan Lafferty, again, I'd like definitely check his stuff out. He's really focuses a lot on concept art, and he's kind of learning too, but he's also got a lot of experience, and he's makes some amazing work. Um, and it just he just broke down a lot of ways to approach concept art, and there's so many different ways, um, that makes it a lot more palatable and easier to approach, than kind of the way I've been doing it. And like that whole thing of doing a bunch of different iterations, like I've talked about in the past, like I don't love doing thumbnails, and I have a
Mhm.
hard time making decisions because I don't want to do all these iterations because of that. And you know, the way he broke it down, especially working digitally, I feel like it's way easier to do this kind of stuff digitally. but the way he broke it down, it made it a lot less, like, I feel like a lot less that I was feeling like I'm wasting my time when I'm trying to do all these iterations, because he's talking about approaching it like kind of a more messy way than I was. Like, each iteration doesn't have to be like this full finished drawing. It just has to be like maybe a ton of like value studies or something like that, and those are like a lot easier to do, than like a full finished drawing and stuff. So anyways, I've been learning a lot from that. And so I've been doing a lot of concept art, and if you follow my Instagram, you've seen it. And yeah, it's kind of dark in here. I can't show some of the light sketch work that I did in my stuff, but yeah, I've been doing that, and making some good headway, figuring out the problems that I need to address. And I don't know, I feel like I've been making more headway with that than before, because I was getting really lost in this concept art stage before, and I don't know, I'm starting to find my way out, I think. So that's a good thing.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, and so let's see, the other goals. I mean, to me, my comics are my main goal, but the other goals were to read comics, which is one every week, and I read one comic, except for the
Hey,
last except for the last page I didn't read because
look
it
out.
wasn't available to me. um, but yeah, Mr. Chris McQuinlan's comic, Monkey Junk, I read that this
Oh,
week,
yeah.
and so I used that as
I don't know
my
if that
my
counts.
weekly thing. What's that?
I don't know if that counts. It's not finished yet.
Well, hey, I don't. When I say I'm reading comics, sometimes I'll read like part of a Bone issue or something. I don't necessarily get through the whole thing sometimes, so I count it. I read some sequentials. So and it was a really fun read. So I'm definitely excited to see this thing come into like full fruition and everything. And yeah, I think, again, I already told you, kind of my thoughts, but I really think that Chris is doing like some of his best work, with this thing, and it's really cool. So,
Thanks,
you
man.
know, yeah, cheers, man, with that. That's really cool. Um, so yeah, there's that. And then what else was the goal? Oh, I didn't work on I got close to working on the Moby Dick thing, but I didn't work on it. I thought a lot about it, and I feel like I'm gonna maybe try. Gaz gave me some suggestions in a private group that we kind of have on Facebook, and I might try to modify it the way he was saying, a little bit, and otherwise I might just kind of scrap what I have and restart over. Um, and one thing that I'm realizing, even though when I do work on these things that aren't for like my own projects, I do actually enjoy it when I'm doing it. But I have a hard time getting to them, and it just makes me realize that something that I've realized many times in the past, but I don't know if I want to do do that kind of stuff. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like I want to save my art for my own art. Like, um,
I agree.
I don't know. It just it messes me up, and when I think too much about the money when I'm trying to make art, it really just it sometimes stops me, but it definitely slows me down, and it's frustrating. And I want to be a professional, and I want to do the things that I need to do, but I have not found a comfortable lane to do that in yet, I guess. And maybe that's the problem too, is it's not about being comfortable, but when you work a day job, and you come home, or you're trying to do it before or after work, it's like it just feels so much like running backwards, to try to do somebody else's stuff instead of, oh, I finally have time to work on my project. I just can't help but gravitate to my own projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I 100% know what you mean. When I was working on the children's book, it was very much that. There were some nights where I just wanted to work on Monkey Junk because I had no drive whatsoever to do someone else's work for them. And that's really what it feels like. Like you get, like you
Yeah.
said, you know, you finish a full day of work to come back and do work for someone else when all you want to do is focus on your own comics or your own illustrations or just relaxing, but you can't because you've still got that sort of imaginative person behind you.
Yeah.
Like, finish my thing. You just want to punch them. Like, no, no. That's that's really good though. That, like, you're willing to take a step back and have another shot at this illustration. Like, I think there's a lot of people who probably struggle with being able to sort of let go on that sort of stuff. Where they're like, well, I've come this far, I've worked hard on it, that um, they start to become precious over the work they've done. So I think you just being willing to actually turn around and go, no, I don't like where this is headed. I'm going to turn around, especially after the customer's already said like they're happy with it. For you to go back, it's good. It shows that you care enough about the work that you're putting into the world, regardless of whether
Yeah.
you're for someone else, because it's a representation of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully I want to make it something cool, and I do want to get that. I have this and another thing that's kind of floating up in the air, and I want to just get them done. And I don't know, I tend to end up still having little projects for other people because like a family member will ask, and I'm just like, I don't want to say no, to a family member,
Yeah, it's hard.
um, because I want to help them, if I can. And so that's a little different. I mean, especially if they're paying me. If they're not paying me, then that's a whole different thing. But um, but yeah, I don't know. So let's see. The other things I did too was let's see. Oh, I worked on some stuff, especially this weekend. I spent too much time finishing up a shark knife illustration. Corey Lewis's shark knife. It was just, like fan art I did a while back in my sketchbook, and I scanned it, or I took a picture of it or whatever, and fully colored it and stuff. But I spent a lot of time doing it, but I finished it, put it up on my Instagram.
I saw it, man. It came up sick too.
Yeah, thanks, man. And then I also decided yesterday that I'm gonna do draw 100 somethings. It's kind of like a challenge that Jake Parker kind of put out a while back. Um, and it's not something that's like a timed thing. Like if it takes me 2 years to do it, it's not a big deal. If it takes me, a month to do it, whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it like every day. It's just draw 100 somethings. And it's kind of, I'm taking it a little bit different way. Of course, with challenges, I always end up modifying it to my own thing. But and basically, my thing is that I'm going to create 100 finished drawing slash illustration type things, digital illustration things for Instagram. And I mean, it'll go to other social media too, but it's initially starting on Instagram, and it's just for me to get better at doing this digital stuff, is the main point, and also finishing things. Putting out finished work, which I put too much sketchy stuff. So I started yesterday, and I put out a drawing of Ice Cube that I did because I had just watched Straight Outta Compton that day, and also Menace to Society, which I've watched a few times in the past. And I don't know, I don't actually watch those kind of movies that often anymore. I used to when I was a kid, but I don't know. I was really inspired and stuff, and Ice Cube's a really creative dude. Like out of all the NWA guys, like he's the guy who, he wrote a lot of the rhymes. He was like the big creative part to the group of NWA, besides like Dr. Dre. And then he went on to do his own career, and he stood up for himself and did his own thing to his own career. He's the first one to kind of leave the group, and then also um he wrote and created movies and did acting, and so he's like just a really creative dude, and it's really inspiring. So
Yeah,
I did a little portrait of him.
I was always a huge fan of his acting work and such when I was younger too. Like, I was always into was it Boys in the Hood, and
Hmm.
Friday was like a classic. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I learned like recently about how much influence he had on NWA and like how sort of dedicated he was to move forward, especially once you
Mhm.
realize like how dicked over he was getting. So when I saw that piece, I was like, yeah, sick. Because I mean, you probably have stronger feelings towards him because you're a bit heavier into the hip hop scene. But yeah, like that was wicked, man. It was a nice piece, a nice little homage to the guy. Have you tagged him in it to sort of show him as well, or?
Oh yeah, that's yeah, definitely did that. I don't know if he noticed or not, but Corey Lewis noticed though, so that was cool. He even retweeted me on Twitter, so that was cool.
That's cool. Sick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what my week was in a nutshell.
Beautiful. So it was definitely productive then. Like for
Oh
considering you
yeah,
were unsure how much you were going to get done this week, it's pretty good.
yeah. I actually ended up taking my my little break that sometimes I take, like one day off of comics a week. I actually ended up doing that yesterday, but I still worked on art a lot. So,
Yeah.
to me, I feel like I still accomplished stuff. And so, yeah.
It feels so weird on those like break days, even like having a break drawing
Hmm.
is part of that break because it's such a relaxated, like a relaxing period. You can just
Hmm.
like, be creative, but still just not, you know, still feel relaxed and enjoy your day. It's kind of funny,
Yeah.
I remember sort of realizing that and talking to like my wife and like I'm just gonna have a day off. I'm gonna do nothing, and then I'd pick up the sketchbook and draw. She's like, I didn't think you were gonna do anything. I'm like, I'm not. I'm just drawing. Like this is my downtime. Is drawing. So I'm working. I'm drawing. If I'm relaxing, I'm drawing. And regardless, it's part and
Yeah.
parcel.
That's how I feel too.
Sick
So,
man.
how was your week, man?
My week was pretty rough.
I
Um,
don't know.
yeah. I can't remember if I mentioned it last week. My family got a bit sick. Um,
Mm,
my wife was sick over the weekend, and my April got sick on Monday. Um, so it stood to reason that I was going to get sick too. Um,
mm,
so it was really, thankfully, because everyone else is sick, I'd been like just hammering, just like the multivitamins and everything, just to try and keep my immunity up. So it was more
yeah.
of a just like a day thing. Although I had a bit of a cough lingering around. I got sick on, I think it was like Thursday, Wednesday afternoon. I could feel something coming on, and then Thursday I was really crook. But because we're so busy at work, I still had to go to work anyway.
Mm,
It isn't too bad because I'm sitting at a desk, so it wasn't physically draining. It was just mentally draining. So I just sort of took the day a bit slower than I normally would.
yep.
But definitely impacted. Like I just was not up to it. Like I definitely wanted the extra sleep, so I wasn't doing my early mornings like I was doing, which I was just getting back into doing as well. I was feeling really happy about it, but then my body decided to change that. But I did persevere. I still got some work done, so I'm going to go through my little list. One thing that wasn't on the list, and I knew this would happen, um, was just a few little changes I had to make to the children's book.
Hmm.
There's a few things that I needed to do and a few for the client. So I had to do those and just finish those up, wrap everything up completely. So I've sent that off to the client. Now I'm just waiting for the final approval to invoice, which will be great because the money is always handy. Um,
Hmm.
I finished pay. Oh, on Wednesday I had to just finish up the colors and the lettering for page 19 of Monkey Junk, which I did,
Hmm.
and then I finished the inks on page 20. I have also finished the grays on that as well. I just need to letter it to put online tomorrow on Patreon. Um, I finished the print. I finally finished the print that I've been working on. It was awesome.
Awesome.
So I'm still debating on whether or not I want to just throw that up onto my big cartel and like sell it off as a print. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know whether it's worthwhile just sort of throwing it up. I was like, maybe I'll do it sort of how you did with yours and maybe just do a pre-order and maybe just try
Hmm.
and see if I get a few bites and just do a limited run of maybe like 10 or 20 prints and hopefully people will bite. And even if I sell like 3 or 4, that would be pretty rad. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to get my hopes up either. So Yeah, I'm unsure what I want to do with it. Even though it was designed as a print, the whole point of it was to sell it as a print. I'll at least have it for conventions in the future. So I don't know which direction to go with that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just mulling over that. I did manage to. I was meant to start inking the second print, but then once I opened the file, I realized I still needed to do a lot of pencil work. So I was working on that. I spent about an hour doing the pencils on that. Um, Hopefully this week I'll be able to start the inks on it. What else? I had to do my podcast. I did record my podcast, but I haven't uploaded it yet. I've been holding off for no particular reason. Then I just keep forgetting to actually upload it. But that is done. I did film a new video this week. And when I say I filmed
Nice.
it this week, I filmed it this afternoon, about an hour before jumping online here. Um, I'm kind of stealing Mike's thunder a little bit because I'm in the process of trying to find a printer for Monkey Junk whilst I put
Mm.
everything together digitally. So I've been reaching out and getting some samples from some different printers in the area. So I received a package with some samples, and I did a video of that, just sort of opening the pack and going through it. I did the video with April again because she seems to really enjoy doing those, but she made it very difficult this time around. She was a lot more animated than she was last time. Um,
Wow.
and about every 15 seconds, she would just wave and say hello to the camera, which is absolutely adorable, but I had to keep stopping and trying to get back into it. So that's going to be a fun one to try and edit this weekend.
Yeah.
And reading comics, I did not do at all, but I'm going to substitute that and say that I did some art study, and hopefully that is a good enough alternative. Yeah, so I'm actually doing some stuff now. So I've just been, you should be able to see it, just been practicing with like my brush pen a little bit,
Oh, sweet.
just trying to do stuff without without base pencils.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Yeah, like a few, just like, yeah, just trying to get back into like world building and other
Yeah,
things.
that's a great way to do studies. I do a lot of studies, or I have in the past at least done a lot of studies just with a typical Bic pen or whatever, and it's really freeing, and it helps you not feel like you're making a full illustration, but at the same time you're getting the practice in.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to, like, I'm working with a brush pen at the moment, so it's nice to be
Hmm.
one, working with a brush pen, and two, just like you said, there's freedom there. There's no, I don't feel like there's pressure because once I put a line down, that's it. Whereas with pencil, like, I'm so much more careful,
Yeah.
and like, oh, I don't have to rub it out or whatever. I'm like, well, once it's down, it's down. I just have to work with it. So it's kind of nice. It's making me miss traditional inking. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to convince myself that I need to keep up the digital process for the comic, because otherwise, I can't just keep chopping and changing the way I've been doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that's been my week. So um, pretty full on, but managed to get everything that I wanted to get done. But this sort of moving into like next week. I really don't know what I'm going to be doing next week, because now that I've finished up the comic, we're still wrapping up the script for chapter 2, which means I can't really start it yet. So I was really hoping to be able to start the layouts or something like that, but
Hmm.
I can't. So I think I'll be focusing more of my time on actually putting the book together and just maybe working on that print. So
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting week. Less creative than I'll probably like, but it might mean that I'll do some more study work as well, which I'm enjoying. So
Well, I mean, like you said, maybe you can just focus on more of the business end, putting it together, the formatting and stuff like that, and then that'll sit. In some ways, it's an advantage because that can you can almost save your creative juices for some of the other goals you have.
yeah, true, true. It'd be nice to focus on the studies a little bit more before I start chapter 2 as well, because I feel like it'd be nice to try and advance my skill set a little bit before I come
Hmm.
into it. Try and do some more like the book will pretty much start in the city of the new dimension that they're in. So it'd be nice to spend some time trying to just create some of the buildings and everything and get an idea of how it actually looks and feels before I just have to
Yep,
dive right in. Yeah.
makes
Plus,
sense.
plus, like I'm trying to learn InDesign as well, so it's a good opportunity for me to practice that software too.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think like as far as my week goes, that's probably going to be it. Is yeah, putting the book together, doing some art studies, and yeah, just trying to finish that print. Just trying to finish yeah, the second one that I've been working on. And then just the usual stuff. Like hopefully I'm going to do another podcast and try and keep that consistent. Um, and focus a little bit of time on my Instagram as well and try and build up that monkey junk page just to get it ready for whether I kickstart it or pre-order it or whatever I end up doing.
Yeah.
Try and build an audience on there now that I've got heaps of content for it. So yeah.
Do you plan on ever coloring monkey junk?
Yes. I can't remember if I spoke to you or someone else about it, but if I do color it, preferably I'll be paying someone to do it and not having to do it myself. But if I do it, it'll be when it goes into a trade. So when I actually put all the put the first 4 books together, I'll potentially color it, but I won't be doing it myself. I don't know if I have the time. I'd still much rather get the pages done for new chapters rather than spend the time coloring and falling behind.
No, that sounds like a good plan. I mean, you can't do everything,
Yeah.
And if you can find a way to pay, if I could find a way to pay somebody to do certain things, I would. I'd be doing it right away. I don't have any issues with that.
Yeah. I mean, like I might even consider trying to find a colorist for the book and then maybe kickstart the trade and incorporate those costs into the trade so we can pay for someone to color it, or at least that could be like maybe a stretch goal or something like that.
Right.
That could be an option.
Cool.
But, I mean, I'm not going to, like I said, yeah, I'm not going to actively do it myself. I mean, I can do it, but I don't enjoy coloring as much as I do penciling and inking. So I'm probably going to like half-ass it, which is not a good thing to admit, but like I probably would.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool,
so
man.
what's your week ahead got on this list?
Again, I'm really gonna pretty much do the same things. I mean, I guess I'm gonna be focusing some more of my energy than normal on some of these draw 100 things stuff, but I think that's kind of already there. Like I've been doing that kind of anyways.
And I suppose like you'll be documenting this anyway via Instagram because that's kind of the whole purpose, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna work on my comics every day. That's just a given. And yeah, it's hard to really say like any specific goals other than what I've had in the last 2 weeks. Just continue to push on that stuff, and I really do need to try to get some more work done on that the Moby Dick piece. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Yeah. I'm keen to see what happens with the Moby Dick piece to see what direction you take this time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give it another shot with what I have now. Just going to try to change some things. If that doesn't work out, then I keep thinking of this one illustration. There was I don't remember the comic artist, but some comic art, like they made a comic of Moby Dick at some point, and it's just something that came up on Google, but I saw, or maybe it was Pinterest, but I saw one illustration, and it's just like action packed, and like the Moby Dick has like these crazy like teeth and stuff that actually aren't anatomically correct, but that's kind of how I was already doing mine a little bit, but
yeah.
But I don't know. It just was like I keep seeing that in my mind. It's like, man, I wonder if there's a way I could do that, but I don't know. But I don't want to copy that though. But try to figure out my own way to do it. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get. I'm sure you'll nail it regardless of what you do. But I'm sure there's plenty of reference out there for you to just peruse through and just get ideas and sort of create an amalgamation off of that, or whoever
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, man.
Sick. So it sounds like it's going to be a somewhat chill week for us this week, but obviously still we're going to be busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, sick. I would say let's answer some questions, but there's literally no one in the chat at the moment. I know there's
Oh
people
no.
watching, but there's no one chatting. Yeah, I suppose that's the downside with the time that we do this. You being
Yeah, well,
like,
I still have about 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions before we sign out. uh,
yeah,
yeah. What about, did you say your goals?
I did. Yes.
I guess you kind of did, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Sort
said
of.
it all in one thing.
I mean, one thing I want to do this week. We talked about this before we started the show, but like I'm still mulling over the ideas of what my 5-year plan is, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I really want to spend some dedicated time this week actually putting together a proper business plan, which will essentially be the lead into my 5-year plan and how I'm going to achieve the end goal of the business. Um, so hopefully I can manage that as well because I've got a really solid idea of where my goals are going to be. So um, if I can manage that, that'd be awesome. We do have a question. Well, it's not
Yay.
it's more of a comment from Dave Hingley. It says, Marsh, just
What,
want to
dude?
say kudos on your drawing of the rapper you put up on Facebook the other day. It looks ace. So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Dave.
I'm guessing he's talking about Ice Cube. Although I did see, is Glyph a rapper? Because I saw you post some stuff of Glyph, but I can't tell if he's a rapper or just a graffiti artist.
He's a graffiti artist. Yeah, maybe he could be talking about that manifesto character that I posted last week,
Oh, yeah.
um, too. So either way, though, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Glad it's translating into something cool.
That's cool, man. But like, when you do that sort of stuff, do you ever feel like, doing an illustration of someone who's popular? Like when you post it up, do you ever get that feeling of, you hope this is the picture that kind of goes a bit viral and, the artist shares it and you like get a whole bunch of likes, or like, does that thought go through your mind at all?
Um, yes. I mean, that's like when I'm not drawing and when I'm like working like I'm at work and I'm thinking about how can I make this stuff work, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I do think about that kind of thing, and that is why I'll end up, trying to tag the person or whatever and stuff. But
Yeah.
while when I get the inspiration to actually do the piece and I sit down to do the piece, I'm not even thinking about any of that really. I'm just making something that I like. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I do. But also sometimes when I finish a piece, I'm like, what if I get noticed for this? And this
Yeah.
isn't what I want people to see, like this kind of thing. So there's all these mixed things going on sometimes, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's such a weird feeling. Like I did that the other week. I did an illustration of the Wiggles because we were going to see the Wiggles.
Hmm.
I wanted something for April to color in and give to them because they do that. And I was like, man, like that'd be awesome if they shared this on their page. And like, think of all the people who would see it and like my page. And like,
Yeah.
it's such a weird feeling. It's like I feel selfish because I'm using this to gain something, but at the same time, I'm also enjoying what I'm doing. I'm happy with what I've produced. So
Yeah.
sort of weird, but at the same time, it's like, well, I want to get out there. I want people to notice me. So I kind of do what I need to do as well. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's not that selfish because all your stuff is like wrapped up in an actual career and stuff. And, if you were to get noticed, this would help, your family and all that stuff. So,
yeah, yeah. Dave just confirmed that he was talking about the Ice Cube piece.
Sweet.
Yeah, nice, cool. Well, I'd say we're probably at the end of this. let's wrap it up then.
All right.
Do you want to just tell people again where they can find you online?
Yes, sir. Again, donkeyjawprojects.com. That's the DJP and the Marshall Lee _ DJP on Instagram. And yeah, that's it, really.
Oh, anyway. Yeah.
And also, how about you?
You guys can find me. You're already at my channel, but otherwise you can find me on all social media at Chris McQuinlan Art. And for those of you who are interested in my comic, you can follow along specifically on Instagram now and also Facebook at Monkey Comic. So check that out. You'll see all the goodies on there. And I'm going to be trying to post like twice a day too, so I'm going to try and keep it really, really active, which you know, is going to be a big test.
Awesome.
So that's it. Good luck this week, man, with your challenges. I hope you smash out this Moby Dick piece. And if you ever need any feedback, feel free to shoot it to me.
Will do.
All as all the other indie artists, the bullpen, I'm sure they'll be willing to help out too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been episode 8 of the Making Comics check-in.
Marsh and Chris.
With Marsh and Chris. And we will catch you all next week on Marsh's channel because we switch these up every week. Also, don't forget, while I quickly remember, because I have the brain attention span of a goldfish, please check out in the links below. You'll see the original guys who started this check-in, Corey Kerr and Joshua Kemble, and also the other badass. I'm having a mind blank of what I wanted to say. Episode jingling guys, Gaz and Mike. They do a little jingle at the beginning of their episode. It's amazing. They make us look like chumps. Stuff them. We're still cool. Be sure to check them out as well if you're interested in just checking out some cool artists who want to talk about art stuff and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to stop this broadcast now and stop talking because I sound like an absolute fool. I'll see you all next week on Marsh's channel. Goodbye.
Later, guys.